Oh, I know where I'm in Des Moines, Iowa.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Comstock channel. I'm Marlin Bohling with you. Always a pleasure to visit with you about anything ag related. And today I'm honored to have a very special guest with us. And we're going to be seeing more of this guy in the future. I'll tell you about that in just a minute. We have Willie Robertson with us. Everybody knows Willie, of course, from Duck Dynasty and that whole series. Willie, it's a pleasure to have you, to talk with you in person here. Thanks a bunch. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Um, I guess everybody wants to kind of know right off the top. We'll just kind of do a quick aside here. How's the family doing?
Everybody's doing okay. Yeah, my family is growing. Just had my eighth grandchild a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, we are multiplying and doing good, and yeah, getting ready for all the activities. Man, they keep me busy. Travel a lot, and I do all the cooking. So everybody's waiting for me to get home so I can cook the meals. So yeah, we got a good thing. Most of my kids live right here around me, and yeah, I get to see grandkids every day, and life is good.
So are they all fairly close to you?
They are. I can hit all their houses with a set of golf clubs. So
Oh, really? All right. That's pretty
so
cool.
that's how close they are. Yeah.
I wish I could say that. Mine are eight hours away from here.
I know it. I hear that a lot, as I travel, and people are like, that is amazing how how they all came back. And so I'm very glad they did. And yeah, it just makes life fun and reminds me of us growing up. We were close. And not only are my kids here, but my brothers live on the same little street I do as well. So yeah, got a little nice commune here.
Well, we have a few things in common. I came from the Central Plains, my hometown out there on the Kansas-Nebraska border. Right now, I think the population sign on the edge of town says 83 people. So I think we both come from pretty rural areas, or fairly rural areas there. Give us a little background on your local area there, where you grew up.
Well, yeah, probably on a good meal, I'd probably have 83 people at my house. So yeah, I'd probably have your whole population in my, in my house. And uh, uh, fortunately, I'm able to house them here. Yeah, growing up, our town, it's actually bigger than what most people thought. And I guess in relation to the production company when they showed up to film Duck Dynasty, they were like, "Man, this town's way bigger." We grew up about 30 minutes south of Monroe, West Monroe, Louisiana, which is the northeast corner of the boot of Louisiana, and grew up on a river. We grew up on the river, and part of the year we were in the river, so it would come up every year to the front doorsteps, and so very rural lifestyle down there. Dad was a commercial fisherman. That's what we moved down there for, and so he fished the river, and always kind of had this dream of building these duck calls. And fortunately, as it all turns out, we were able to do good at that as well. But yeah, just a small town. There's probably 10 or 15,000 people in West Monroe. Monroe's bigger, and so the whole area is a little bit bigger. We got an airport and it's big enough to be able to get out of here and travel around the world like I do, but small enough to know everyone. And I found out when you have a big television show, everybody knows who you are, and so that has its advantages and disadvantages. According to what you're buying at the Walmart. So
Well, my old colleague Cami Arnder from RFD TV, she's from that same neighborhood. I'm sure you've heard of Lainey Wilson. Gosh, she's from that same area there too. So you
Laney
guys
was
have really
just
cranked out some celebrities there.
Laney was just here last weekend. She had a concert. I was out of town. I was speaking in rural Minnesota is where I was, but Laney was here, and so Sadie and Corey and everybody went to the concert. She did 2 nights. It was probably the last one she did of the year, I would imagine. And so it was fun hearing all the stories about her being back in her hometown. And Tammy and I, yeah, we're really good friends. I've known Tammy for a long time. And I just saw her as well. I was telling you, I just saw her in Nashville. She interviewed me for Patriot Award. And it is, yeah, there is a little few celebrities that have come out of here. And so, yeah, it makes it nice. And it's always fun to, I think highlight where you're from. Laney's from about 20, 30 miles up the road, in the little town of Baskin, Louisiana. I know Baskin because I hunt there a lot. And so, it's the biggest speed trap. And I think I just heard they dedicated the highway to her right there. And so, uh, and I figured growing up there, she's probably paid in speeding tickets from living there. She's probably paid enough to buy those signs, pay for the highway they named after her.
So when you were a little kid growing up in that area, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that your profession and career would take a wild turn like it eventually did?
I didn't know that when I was in my 30s. So obviously, growing up as a little kid, I never thought about it. You always think about dreams and being in front of people, and yeah, but just never. I never. I really couldn't ever figured out how that was gonna work, and that it was even possible. That just seemed like such a uh, just a. It just seemed impossible. We were really poor growing up. We pretty much lived off the land, and little school I was at, we probably had 10 or 12 in each class, and you never really knew of anybody that kind of was on. I mean, if you were ever on TV around here, something bad happened, like some tornado came through or something. Uh, and yeah, I just never would have dreamed it. And just, worked hard, and then, worked hard at business. And then as opportunities had come, we did the Duck Commander videos. And so that kind of gives a little notoriety amongst duck hunters, and maybe in Bass Pro Shops or stuff, you may go like, hey, I think that's those guys who duck hunt. And so I always said that, we kind of were able to get just enough to learn and kind of learn the craft. And I think at the end of the day, we're good storytellers. And I think we learned that from being poor and growing up, because we didn't watch TV. I mean, we had three channels, and most is whatever dad wanted to watch. And no computers, no cell phones, anything like that. And so just we grew up on the end of a dead end dirt road, and right there with the river. So every day we spent, we were outside. And so when we came in for that family meal, which was so interesting when Duck Dynasty, it's centered around that family meal at the end of the show. But that dinner table was it, man. That's where I learned to. I heard those great stories from my father and my grandparents, and it was just good storytellers, and they could always entertain with that. And so, yeah, you just kind of waited for your time. You're like, if you had a story, you had to bring it, And storytelling actually is what we were able to bring along through, because that's all television is and movies. It's just telling stories with pictures. And
Kind of a lost art nowadays, isn't it?
it really is. I mean, everybody's people don't talk anymore. They're just, it's like, let me tell you a story, and they'll text it, and there's even times like my wife will be texting me from the bedroom, and I'm in watching TV, and we're like communicating like across the deal with the. So I get it, but we try to be intentional about sitting down, having a meal, which is one of the reasons I cook a lot. My family's near me, and so I know when you got good food, they'll come here. And when we're here, we just tell stories. We tell stories about growing up. It was like we didn't have a lot of super interesting things, but we would tell stories about hunting. So we would come from a hunt. We typically ate everything that we got. And so we would tell stories about that. Then we would cook, and then we would tell stories about the cooking of it, and whether it tasted good or as good as it did last time. And those were kind of the stories. And now we, even from my kids, I'm hearing like what they're doing, what projects they've got going on. Some of them, a lot of them work for me or with me in certain capacities. And so we'll just share those stories with each other, and learn how to tell good stories.
Well, after living and working in Nashville for the last 10 years, you bring up a good point. You go down the street, and all you see is well, I call them millennials, but I mean the younger people just walking like this down the street and totally oblivious
Yeah.
to everything going on around them. There is no what I call communication skill, no social skills anymore. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
guys kept that alive.
That's true. And it's kind of sad. My father still doesn't have a cell phone. He never did. He never got around to getting one. But yeah, you get caught up in it, and just, kind of living in that world, which is kind of fantasy, if you think about it, you're checking this and that. And so, I love it. I mean, I love it because it's a great reference point for, I love recipes, and I love like wind. I was just on my phone trying to figure out what this wind's going to do because I'm going hunting. So I'm like, is it going to be? And so those are really convenient. Back in the day, we had to wait for the local news and weather to come on so you could find out what's going on. We were just talking about, I can't remember what it was. We were talking about the TV guide. We were like, you had to get the TV guide because you had no idea what was going to come on TV. And it just seemed funny that we had a little book that we had to look at. But I tell you what, I wouldn't trade it for anything. The way I grew up, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I think the youngsters today do have a harder time to, because the fix is in those phones and all that. They're geared to suck you in, get you addicted to them, to where and they fire off things in your brain. And so yeah, and I've got hope. I think at some point they'll come around. You see things change. It used to be uh you know uh everybody, kids have the attention span of 15 seconds. Actually, anyone, and everybody's on TikTok, and so everything's got to be short. But then, boom! Now you find like long form podcasts, being an hour and 15 minutes, 2 hours. Those are swinging around. So I do think people will be searching, and they'll want to dig in more. So hopefully, trends come and go, and so hopefully it'll go back to really good storytelling and appreciating the art of that. I think. I mean, think about a relationship. I just gave a speech, I think in Minnesota, and I was in Minnesota at a school, and I said, learn how to be a good storyteller. Your spouse or your eventual spouse will appreciate it. If you're super boring and everybody's on their phone, uh, that's not as cool as when you can tell a story. And think about your story and how you can tell that, and start noticing things, noticing things in real life, and not just what's on a computer screen or television.
Well, I've always appreciated your entrepreneurial spirit and, your faith-based family and your patriotism-based family. And you weren't afraid to show that and share that with everybody as well. Now, you're going to be our keynote speaker at an event coming up that we're putting together in Des Moines, Iowa. It will be on February 21st and 22nd. It's called the Family Farm Masterclass. And it's to teach people from, rural areas, the finer points of maybe how to run their business, how to do succession and keep your business in the family and that sort of thing, how to protect your successors and that sort of thing. What do you think you have to bring to the table at that particular conference to explain to everybody?
I think I hopefully just be authentic to who I am, and I enjoy telling stories and telling our story and telling what happened to us business wise. There was a lot of good and positive things. There's been negative things. There's been a lot of mistakes. A lot of what we learn from is like, oh, we screwed that up. We could have done that better. And then obviously I want to talk about my faith and just how important it is to us. And I'll probably talk about how without it, none of this would have happened. So we wouldn't have, my mom and dad's marriage was essentially over. Dad had kicked us out. We made a movie about it called The Blind, and you just didn't realize how close it was to this family not staying together. And had faith not intervened and come in, there wouldn't have been a Duck Commander. There wouldn't have been a Duck Dynasty. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. And so that's why it's so important to us, because without it, it kept the family together, and then gave my parents, I was young at the time, but it gave them a whole new lease on life, and the idea of forgiveness and redemption, and all these things played out and in my parents' life, and we as kids, and now my kids and my grandkids are just all part of the fruit of that. And so I love sharing that, and I love telling stories, but I love telling his story, as well, and what's really important to us, and whether or not you buy into that or not, it's my story. So it would be part of my master class or class as to what really shaped our life, and I think God's done some amazing things, and and I'm not ashamed at all of telling that story.
Well, your life and that of your entire family has been an inspiration to a lot of us, and we hope you can keep up the great work and stay on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
It's a great example for so many people, and we look forward to hearing your stories out here. And hopefully, we'll have a chance to have a few of our guests out there at that conference do a little meet and greet with you and kind of compare notes. I think they would take a lot away from that. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. I've never had the chance to do it in person before. This is great.
Yeah.
And thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with us. I appreciate
I
that.
can't wait to be there. Now, February in Des Moines, is it going to be cold? We
It's always
expecting.
cold in February in Des Moines. So
Ah,
be prepared.
good
Yeah.
old Midwest. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just in Minnesota. So yeah, it's definitely a little chillier than down here in Louisiana. I can't wait to be there. Yeah, I hope everybody comes out, and I promise I'll try not to be boring. I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible, and maybe we'll learn things as well.
Well, make sure, as I as I like to say, make sure you button up the back flap when you go there. It can be nice and brisk and breezy that time of year out
And the
there.
front flap as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, right.
we'll
So
button all our flaps.
have a good quality duster or
Yeah.
something. But anyway, the dates on that thing are going to be February 21st and 22nd. You can go to comstock.com to our main website. And if you look in the upper right hand corner, there will be a little link that says Masterclass. And you can find out all the details about what will be taking place, what it's about, what the agenda will be, when this particular guy will be speaking, and you can make reservations and all that good stuff. So go to comstock.com and check it out. And we look forward to seeing with you then. By the way, seating is limited, so it's kind of first come, first serve. So hopefully you can get a seat before they're all gone. I encourage you to check that out. Willie, it's been an honor. I'll see you in February. Thank you for the time. I appreciate that so much. And that'll do it for this particular episode. Thanks again for joining us. For producer Brianne Hendrickson, I'm Marlin Bohling. We'll catch you next time on the Comstock Channel. Futures trading involves risk. The risk of loss in trading futures and/or options is substantial, and each investor and/or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance is not indicative of future results.